that the lower part of the body is also covered. And then don't move much. A little bit like a robot. You shouldn't be seeing your room, your bookshelf, your hentai figurine. Do not shift your eyesight. And you have to keep muting your microphone. The only thing you're allowed to do is not. Do not go and cut your colleagues short. Never ever beauty setting on which people do meetings. A stamp. Hey guys and girls on Ash Japanese, it's Cathy Cat. This time we're going to talk about 10 strange rules here in Japan when you want to have a web meeting. Now if you guys are planning to maybe do a job interview in Japan, or if you're actually working at a Japanese company or with a Japanese company online, these things will come in handy for you. You must know them in case you're going to do any kind of that camera work, online teleworking. In Japan they call it telewaku, obviously because of the current situation. Loads of people have to work from home and have meetings and similar online, and this is where these rules come into play. I didn't even know all of them, so I'm going to share them with you so you won't get it wrong. Let's go. Number 1, clean appearance. If you're doing a web meeting together with your colleagues who you already might know and be familiar with, you still need to dress as professional as you can. Director, what are you doing? Put those pet bottles out of your t-shirt. Do not do what the director is doing and stuff a couple of pet bottles under your t-shirt. You need to actually wear professional attire, meaning, guys, you need to wear your general shirt. It needs to look ironed, it needs to look clean. Some companies, when they're really, really strict, you even have to wear your blazer. Ladies, you will have to wear a blouse and put on the makeup, or the kind of makeup that you would put on if you go into the office. And also make sure that the lower part of the body is also covered. We heard embarrassing stories about people who didn't do it, and then they went up to get something, and then the whole company could see their striped underwear. So make sure that even in the heat of summer, you wear the lower attire just as well as the upper attire. You need to look fresh, you need to be presentable. Guys need also to be cleanly shaven and have their hair styled as usual. So no little beard or anything. You need to look as presentable as possible. Seiketsukan is a word for cleanliness here in Japan, and I mentioned it in many videos before. It's very, very important to Japanese people. So make sure you look as clean and presentable as possible to preserve the harmony of the meeting. NEXT! Rule number 2 is don't move. Be a machine. First of all, you need to come and check exactly how your face will fit in the screen. Check the whole setup, and once you found the perfect setup for your face, don't move. You can move your hands. You can move your hands, but you shouldn't be moving too much of your body. You shouldn't be shifting around too much. And also, there's a common thing that when you... Director! We're filming right now! What are you doing?
Check our Instagram. I'm putting on this on Instagram.
Okay, yeah. It's gonna be on our Instagram now. If you follow, you'll probably see this way before this video goes up. So the Instagram links are in the links below. Shameless plug. Let's continue this video. Also, if you have the habit of tapping something, or maybe tapping your feet, or like moving your leg, those ones are really seen as something very impolite, even though you might not be doing them on purpose. So be careful about those ones. Don't do any tapping, moving, or similar while you are streaming with your colleagues. Try to, find the perfect spot and then don't move much. A little bit like a robot, but there it is. Number 3, your background is crucial. You shouldn't have anything in the background that would distract other colleagues of yours and similar. So for example, most people actually opt for plain curtains in the background or just a plain wall. Some of them even buy backgrounds and put them up like YouTubers do, just to have nothing in the background. You shouldn't be seeing your room, your bookshelf, your hentai figurines, your manga collection, whatever. All of that should be stuffed away. I keep knocking this microphone, I'm so sorry. All of your private stuff should be stuffed away. And even if you have a really nice looking room, again, you shouldn't be showing it. It shows a lot of privacy. And there's actually been problems with women going on those kind of web things and then it's a kind of like, digital harassment that's been happening where the boss will say, oh, show us more of your room. It kind of leads to them asking questions about their room that they shouldn't be asking. So keep it as plain and as simple in the background as possible so people don't even get tempted to ask to show anything more of your private life. Rule number 4. You look away, you die. Now think of the old samurai when they challenged each other to a duel. Both of them, their eyes interlocked. Both of them, their hands on their sword. They're ready to strike, to kill each other, and none of them is looking away. And that's the exact situation you might be getting when you are in a web meeting, meaning nothing else is allowed to grab your attention because you have to be absolutely focused on what's going on screen. On that note, if you live together with other people, you need to tell them to zip it. Maybe if you have a larger room, they have to be in a different room. But think about it, Japanese houses are generally a lot smaller than houses in the West, meaning there might not even be other rooms. You might be sharing a room with your partner, so they must be sitting somewhere in a corner being very, very quiet while you're having your web meeting. Same thing counts for pets. If you have any pets, you need to find a way to, have them quiet during that meeting. They're not allowed to make any noise. And if you have kids, even more so. I don't know how they're doing it, but they have to do it. So people with kids have to really struggle and keep them kids quiet, at least during the time of the web meeting. Now, also, there's nothing else allowed to grab your attention because you have to have your eyes locked on the screen. You shouldn't be looking their way, you shouldn't be looking the other way, you shouldn't be picking up your phone and checking messages. All of this is seen. You need to be as professional and as focused as if you were in a real life meeting. People can get very offended if you break that rule. So also meaning that if you have different tabs on your computer, they all need to be closed. Any notification sounds, they all need to be off. So brave web meeting samurai, do not shift your eyesight because you know what will happen to a samurai who shifts his eyesight just for 1 second in a duel. Shocking! Number 5. Your noise might be the trigger of your death. So in order to save you from the demise, one thing you need to know is that all kind of sounds, unnecessary sounds especially, are a big no during the web meetings in Japan too. Now, for example, abroad, if someone sneezes, you're generally tempted to, wish them Gesundheit or bless you. But actually, in a Japanese web meeting, you need to cover all your coughs and sneezes, not just with a tissue, but also sound-wise, it should be muted, especially in this day and age, right? So all of these sounds need to go. If you have anything in the background that might be disturbing the meeting, may it be a noisy air conditioning or a neighbor hoovering or the sounds of a train, all of this needs to be muted. So on that note, make sure that everything is quiet and you have to keep muting your microphone as much as you can, especially if there's any sound that would make other people feel annoyed or similar things like that. Make sure to keep that all quiet. One thing where I realized that sounds can be a nuisance or bothering other people is in Japan. If someone drops a plate in the kitchen in a restaurant, generally they will then afterwards shout, "Sumimasen deshita!" to apologize for the sound they made. Even if they're breaking, it's like, in the West, what I love is when you hear that someone breaks a plate in the kitchen, they already have a tough day, right? So sometimes people will go like, applaud, you got this. It's just a tough day, but, But in Japan, they actually have to, after they broke the plate, go and apologize to the whole restaurant in a very loud voice so they can actually be heard from the kitchen. So again, sounds are seen as something very negative because they could have scared or surprised the visitors and similar things like that. So keep that in mind. So try to keep all of that muted. And apparently, even if you're having a drink during your meeting, and that sound of like the water is a no-go because the sound of your drinks can annoy other people. Annoyed yet?
Out. Hi.
Hi. Rule number 6 is nodding, not responding. During a web meeting, you might be inclined to do the general gestures that we do during a conversation, which is like saying indeed or yes or I agree or similar things like that. Well, if you do that in a Japanese web meeting, you might get your head cut off by a samurai or the highest person, because you shouldn't be doing that. Think about it, web meetings are pretty new to many people, and surprisingly, some internet here in Japan is pretty slow, or companies aren't really prepared that much for web meetings, because that is pretty new for many companies. Many companies just started doing this in Japan, surprisingly more than we expect from Japan if we have the image of technology. Not so much for a lot of companies, meaning their internet is slow, there might be a lot of lag, and by the time you say yes or you agree, you might be cutting someone off, you might be accidentally nodding to the wrong thing or agreeing to the wrong thing, So the only thing that is said is to be good manners and good etiquette in Japanese web meetings. All those sounds have to get cut out. No, or no, yes, or I agree. None of that. While someone else is talking, the only thing you're allowed to do is nod without a sound. You can nod faster or slower, but you shouldn't be saying any sounds because, again, with the time lag, you might embarrass yourself or other people. So yeah, nod. Don't speak. Just let the other person finish. Which actually ties into the next topic. しばらくお待ちください. More! Rule number 7, don't cut someone short. Now, especially in the West, we love a heated debate. We love to agree and especially to disagree. But Japan is a society of harmony, meaning you do not go and cut your colleagues short when someone is trying to explain or state their opinion. Never, ever cut them short. Now, if you think of Japanese anime and similar, or just going back to Japanese schools, people need to generally go and raise their hands if they want to speak up in class. Same thing applies to web meetings, meaning there will be the chairman, there will be the attendees, and there will also be an archivist, the person who takes notes of what is discussed about in the meeting, and later on they will write a report and send it out to everyone. So in order to make it smoother for everyone and keep the group harmony, if you want to say something, even if you disagree with someone, you first need to raise your hand. Also counts in digital meetings, so you need to raise your hand and wait until the chairman appoints you, and then you can state your point. And again, just a little side note here, don't, shut someone completely down. Don't really, cut them short and shut them down. And generally, Japan is a harmony culture. You try to not be too negative and too harsh with other people. So just watch out for that one. And with some apps here in Japan as well, you have even a button that will be a raise your hand button. So people have also other ways of, again, giving people a chance to raise their hand so they don't interrupt anyone else. So yeah, don't cut them short. Number 8, the Beauty and the Beast. Or more, the Beauty and the Beauty Light, maybe. Now, if you think about it, in Asia, there are many apps that have like a filter on, so your skin looks nicer, and then really, really extreme ones that make your eyes larger and all that kind of stuff. But there is actually a beauty setting on some of the web apps with which people do meetings, and apparently it's apparently concerning, especially the ladies here in Japan, that they still have to look very good and very presentable. So some of them go and buy ring lights, some of them buy like extra beauty lights, some of them even add yes, stuff like this for their web meetings to look their best. So you need to be the beauty, look their best even during those meetings, and some people had to get extra equipment in just to look nice during their web meetings and similar. So if you have a beauty app, maybe use it. Maybe don't overuse it though. If it gives you like big lips and wings in your hair, you're probably using the wrong kind of beauty app. But yeah, and yeah, I leave up to you who you think the beast is in this situation. NEXT! Rule number 9, even with all of those rules, you still have to go into the office. Now, a lot of things can be done online, but in Japan there is a very specific way of getting people to approve something, and instead of a signature, which you might have digitally, it has to be a stamp. So sometimes you might have seen it in Japanese arts as well, or Japanese pictures, that is usually a red mark, a red kind of stamp on the bottom right or the bottom left or similar, that marks is like a signature of the artist. And the same thing we have in the business world, meaning certain documents have to not be signed. They don't take signatures. Instead of a signature, it's a red stamp. Now, the problem with that stamp is it's only yours. It has to be like a specific one that they know it's yours. So it usually should be your name or something similar. And that stamp has to go a long way. So for example, you have a project and you would like it to get approved. So first of all, you take that paper and ask for the approval, and you put your stamp on it, and then you go to the project head. That person will then have to put their stamp on it. Next one is it has to go to the section chief, that puts their stamp on it. Maybe it has to go through HR, they put their stamp on it. Then it has to be the higher person up. So, you know what I'm talking about. Each and every of these people have to actually give their physical stamp and put that on the piece of paper, and that can go for a long time. So this is so physical that loads of Japanese people have complained about it. There's also be the issue of these stamps or having to go in with immigration in Japan and similar. And those stamps have, especially during this corona outbreak, shown a lot of people that this system is getting outdated because it's so impractical during the teleworking times right now. So some companies have started to loosen it a little bit and started to have a system of digital stamps, but especially governmental things and such are still way behind that. And that's when it still is a bit of an issue, and you still have to physically go to certain places, bring that stamp, and then sign with that stamp. Also, if you lose that stamp, you're in big trouble because, it's kind of like you lost your signature. So yeah, that's also bad news. So yeah, still a lot of physical things have to unfortunately be done, and Japan hasn't found a way to get around of it, unfortunately. Also, you can't just use any stamp. Sometimes you have to register your stamp and get stamp approvals as well. And the more important it gets, may it be banking or governmental, there has to be a certain stamp, and you can't use a different stamp in case you want to sign again. It has to be the exact same one. So again, it's an issue. Hopefully it's going to get resolved a bit more in the future. Rule number 10, don't trust rumors. Okay guys, I'm going to give you 3 extra rules and you'll tell me which of these is false. One is you have to be 5 minutes there prior to the meeting and be on camera 5 minutes prior to the meeting. Number 2 is you have to do a very deep bow at the end of the meeting until it is over. And number 3, again tied into Japanese culture, is you are not allowed to leave the meeting until the highest person in hierarchy leaves the meeting. Which one do you think is false? Actually, all of them are. The web broadcasted unsought media, people thought they have to do this from now on. You actually don't. So these ones are actually rumors that are not true. So some of the rules you might find online are actually not as strict, but the ones that we talked about, apparently you have to kind of look after if you're doing it. We've met web meetings here with Ash Japanese. They're letting me wear what I'm allowed to wear, and the director pretty much wears t-shirts too. But for formal meetings, everyone else in our company still has to abide by the rules that we were talking about. 3210. Now, these are all challenging times for everyone, and to be honest, some of the meetings around are not as formal as these ones. It depends on how strict your company is. But, at least everyone is trying to little by little do a little bit more of the things that keep other people safe. It took Japan a while to actually implicate the idea of teleworking. More and more companies started doing it, but unfortunately some of them stopped straight after the state of emergency was lifted. Our company is being pretty good about it and trying us to be in the office as little as possible. Right now, obviously, we are in the office while we're shooting this, but we've been shooting a lot outside in the countryside and similar. So there's actually going to be some videos of us traveling in the countryside soon. So if you want to find out more about that, don't forget to subscribe and also give us a like for making this video. I hope it gave you some information if you're out to get a job interview or similar here in Japan, or maybe are doing some of those teleworking sessions. Then I hope this helped you, and I'll catch you soon for more stuff here on Ask Japanese. Have a great day and stay safe, guys. Bye.
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 カジさん、カジさん、お疲れ様です。お疲れ様です。お疲れ様です。
ありがとう。
お疲れ様です。
お疲れ様です。